I'm looking up at the ceiling. Good evening, popular astronomers. I'm not looking at stars. I'm looking at something altogether more distracting and slightly sad. If you watched the show last week, you will know that there was a hibernating tortoiseshell butterfly in here. And right at the end of the show, after sitting on my finger, it flew up into the light fitting. And it's just this second. It's obviously a very showbiz butterfly. It really likes the limelight because it's just woke up again and it's trapped in the sky. And it's really disconcerting. I just don't know what to do because it's really noisy, and B, it's quite a rare critter. And I'm feeling bad now, but do you want to see what I've got to deal with? Look at this. Have some ceiling vision. Where is it? It's in, too many cables going on. It's in the fluorescent filter. I almost feel like calling the fire brigade. I am that distressed about it. And everybody is online waiting for me. We have got Mell Jeffrey this evening, David Arditti, Stephen O'Meara is coming on as well. We have got a fun-packed show for you this evening. Hello, everybody. Where's Cosmo? Here he is. Thank you, Paulina. Good evening, gorgeous Cosmo and Vicky. Cosmo is wearing a space badge and his beautiful sundial necklace, which is available from the SPA gift shop. Good evening, everyone. Again, I know, yeah, good evening. At least this is a very nice COVID-safe fun that you can have. So, hi, Steve Fractal, the man with a billion faces and counting. Hi, Madeline Dunn, the cat lady, meow. Jeff Stevens, good evening. Oh, hi, Jeff. How are you this evening? Ian has spelled my name right, double points. Good evening, Vicky and Astro pals. Evening, Vicky. Kath, our beautiful SPA member. She's just so wonderful. Good evening to you. I do love doing this. And good everyone. Yes, good everyone. So we have got some fans. Good evening. We've got someone from Tucson on. Hello. Or Tucson, as I thought it was for years until I actually went to Space Fest there. Space Fest 7 I went to and realized it was Tucson all along. And I'd just been getting it wrong. Good evening, Bob Jessamine, the man with the amazing constellation for a visage. Absolutely fantastic. Good evening, Pop Astro folk. Hope you're all well. So looking forward to that. Is the extra O there a typo, or are you actually so looking forward to this, Mr. Brendan? And howdy all, David Graham. Thank you very much. Sorry, I tried to say good evening, everyone. Paulina, I will forgive you. A finger little slip up. And Daryl, hello. Evening all. So here we are. Great stuff. Right. Do you want to know what we've got coming up for you this evening? We've got Butterfly Rescue headlining. So we have got Plug the Mug and Sing About the Bling. Cosmo is wearing the bling. Let me just resize my windows. It makes life a lot easier on my laptop. Here we go. I can look at my details and have my beautiful highlighted script on. Okay. Yes. So this is Pop Astro Live, the lockdown sessions. I love it because I've got a captive audience. So viewing figures should be absolutely fantastic because none of you are out down at the pub or mingling or socializing or at your astronomy groups. Captive audience, just my favorite kind of audience. The wonderful SPA merch is available in the gift shop. Cosmo the Sloth, who actually got abandoned here, is not available, but the wonderful necklace is available. That is a sundial necklace that you look through and it casts a light. The SPA mugs, oh, here we go. I feel like Super Ted. Ta-da! Crumbs, what's she wearing this week? It is the Astronomy is Looking Up t-shirt. There are loads of Ace t-shirts available from the SPA shop. Just go to popastro.com, have a fish around for the shop, and please purchase wonderful things for yourself and for fellow astronomers. It is cold in here tonight. I am broadcasting from a laundrette. It's not a disused laundrette. It's an empty, deserted laundrette. Just me and the butterfly. So this is your show as much as it is everybody's, because we are the Society for Popular Astronomy. So please join in, participate in the chat room, ask questions. There are astronomers on standby, waiting to answer your questions. And if you are new to the wonderful world of astronomy, please get involved. Please join the SPA. We will guide you through. There are so many exciting areas of astronomy to get involved in. We'll help you narrow down your field of passion and whatever you're interested in, and help you flourish in that area. For instance, this evening, coming up towards 9 o'clock, we have got Mell Jeffrey. She is our Occultations section director. If you are new to the world of occultations, Mell is going to blow both of your socks off. Not just one sock, but both socks. Definitely blown off somewhere out towards the Oort cloud. So did you know there's some big sunspots happening? I nearly said on the moon then, on the sun. Where else are they going to be? Sunspots are happening on Jupiter, everybody. Oh, it's gone crazy. So the current mega sunspot group, let me just put my mic down here. I think I've got enough room for it. Here we go. How's this? Let me know if it's a bit too loud. I do have a tendency to get a bit overexcited with my beautiful, crystal clear, loud voice. The current mega sunspot group, AR1 2786, currently has a maximum area of 1000 mH. Now, this is completely new to me because I didn't know what mH meant. The units mH are millionths of a solar hemisphere. I'm glad I don't have a lisp. The units mH are millionths of a solar hemisphere. 1 mH being about 3 million square kilometers and the Earth being about 170 mH. So the value of, okay, the largest group on record was AR 14886 sometime in 1947, and they were 6,132 mH. So you can go to the Pop Astro page to view the 32 largest. Oh my God, please don't be COVID. I've got a tickly throat. Visit the 32 largest sunspots on Pop Astro, on the Pop Astro website. Just type in largest sunspots and it'll take you to that search if you want to see where this current group is standing in relation to some of the biggest clusters of all time. So as I was driving here tonight, my torch is stuck on. I can't find the off button on it, so it's dazzling me. As I drove here tonight, I saw the full moon. It's nearly the full moon. I'm not precisely sure when the main full moon is. It's getting there though, isn't it? And I thought, the man in the moon, we don't really hear much about the man in the moon, do we? We don't know his backstory. We don't know who he is. We don't know who he cavorts with through the sky. We don't know hardly anything about him. And so what we're going to do is play a game of consequences. Do you remember that game when you were a kid and you fold up the piece of paper and you write, so-and-so went out with so-and-so, and then the next person takes the paper and unfolds it a little bit and then writes on it. So the way this is going to work, slightly different, because you can't all write on a piece of paper. It's really difficult to send a piece of paper around a couple of thousand people all at once. We're going to try it a different way. So we want some audience participation from you, please. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it step by step to write a game of consequences about the man in the moon. And according to WikiHow, we're going to get a hilarious story at the end of it. And I do recall this did used to be quite funny when we were kids playing it. So the way we're going to do it is, because there's a bit of lag on this and people are watching it at slightly different times and the comments come in at different times, we can use that to our advantage. And it's going to be like a randomizer. So I'm going to take the third comment that comes in out of every batch, and that will be the answer that goes on to form the next part of the story to the next part of the story. So the man in the moon, we don't even know his name. Should we give him a name? Let's give him a name. So the first person, just type a random name or something rather clever. Maybe he's even got a name knowing my look. Dave, come on, Dave is the man in the moon. So just feel free to comment random names. We need to give our man in the moon a name first of all. And I'll just wait for the comments to pour in. Oh yeah, so it's a full moon on the 30th, right? Okay. Yes, the 30th full moon on Monday. Yeah, the Magellanc clouds are behind me. Not only was my beautiful backdrop cheap on Amazon, it's also got spelling mistakes on it, and it is the southern hemisphere, and that is the reason why it was cheap. Okay, so we've got the third answer come in. James Dawson, the man in the moon is now called Bernard. What a great name for the man in the moon. Don't even know whether you can see him in there. He's around somewhere. Okay, so the man in the moon, this is a great one. He met somebody. Now, it has to be a female name. Who would he be cavorting with up in the heavens? We need a female name now. And then we're going to play the rest of the game of consequences later. So Bernard, the man in the moon, this game had better be as funny as I remember it when I was 8. The man in the moon met, right, what's the girl's name? Third answer, let's have her. He likes ragdoll cats. Chico, Baldy, Clyde, Roger, Tarquin, James, Lunic. We've got Helga, Selena. One more. The next name that comes in is going to be the Stella. Her name is going to be Stella. Of course, what a great name. So the man in the moon, Bernard, met Stella. We're going to carry on with that game later. Okay, now we're going to go over to somewhere very far flung, possibly our furthest flung guest that we have so far. We're going over to Stephen O'Meara. Are you ready to come on the chat in 3, 2, 1? Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, how are you this evening?
Great, thank you. I'm glad you have the Southern Hemisphere on your background.
Have I made you feel at home?
Yes, you did. I saw the Magellanic Clouds while you were talking, and you did. Thank you.
The funny thing is, though, it's got spelling mistakes. So it's actually the small Magellanc. Mank to rhyme with bank. I had to think about that then. So where are you this evening then? Tell us about your amazing life in Botswana.
Yes, I'm in Botswana, and that's in Africa, just above South Africa, and we're near the Okavango Delta, and we have a small population here in Maun, Botswana, and so we're near the gateway to the Okavango Delta, where all the animal life is. So we have very dark skies, and it's one of the most pristine sites that you can have in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
So yeah, very beautiful.
So tell us then, before we go on to astronomy, what is the wildlife like down there? What are your favorite wildlifes?
Oh, well, personally, I like crocodiles, but we have everything: crocodiles, hippos, giraffes, leopards, lions, zebra. We have the largest elephant population in the world in Botswana.
And what do you like about crocodiles so much?
I don't know. I like dinosaurs. See, I like dinosaurs too. So the crocodiles are they're dinosaurs too.
Hey, that's not your book, is it?
No, that's a golden book. That's one of the first books I had as a child.
There's something so lovely about nostalgic childhood books. I was in a vintage bookstore yesterday, and there was a pop-up of nursery rhymes like Jack and Jill and The Man in the Moon Has Lost His Spoon, or whatever it was. And I realized it was something that I must have had when I was 3 years old. And like the imagery of these pictures came back to me. Like, it's so weird. It's like, well, I guess it's a time machine, isn't it?
I know, but you mentioned Jack and Jill. Did you know that Jack and Jill, that's actually a story about the waxing and waning moon phases?
No, it's not, is it?
Yeah, it's the spots, Jack and Jill. So as they go up the hill, the moon is waxing, and when Jack breaks his crown, that's the full moon, and then it's broken, and then it starts to wane, and Jill comes tumbling after is the dark spot following Jack as the phases. Yeah, it was actually, I think it's Finnish, from Juk and Juka. It's an old Finnish legend, I believe.
I've been doing this show for 5 months, and I think that is now my new favorite fact. So it's no longer about a little boy with a fractured skull.
No, yeah, it's all about the moon.
Oh, that's amazing! If you've got any more nursery rhyme facts, that's better than my man in the story. That's better than my man in the moon story that I'm attempting to cobble together with the help of wonderful SPA members. So,
yes.
So you have written a book about the red planet. Then tell us about that.
Yeah. So thank you. It just recently came out by Reaction Books. And it's part of their series their planetary series, and it's Mars is my passion, and that's why I think I just love to write it. It's my second book about the planet Mars, and it really is about trying to bring back the romance to the red planet. It's gone through waves. I mean, we've actually fell in love with the red planet ever since prehistory, and we've lost our link to it when we had the Mariner spacecraft go out there and showed us that it was actually a heavily cratered world, and not as lifelike as we had hoped it to be. And now we're finding out that it has great possibility for perhaps microbial life, and there's water. And so the romance is back. And so that's what I love. I was just out right before it started to rain looking at Mars tonight. Yeah.
Oh, yes, because, Stephen, there is a caveat with you that the heavy rain might cause you suddenly just to explode.
Yes, I know. It's amazing because we had a break in the clouds. I brought the telescope out. It's actually, I'm just using a little 3-inch telescope. And I'm telling you, it's amazing what you can see through a 3-inch telescope. Everyone thinks, perhaps, not everyone, but you need a really large telescope to do and see well. But I've been following the dust storm on Mars with this little telescope. So it's just a 3-inch refractor, and it's been amazing. I love it. I could look at Mars through a Coke bottle and I'd still be happy, I think.
It's looking really lovely. So for us at the minute, it's kind of been moving across the top of the moon, but where has it been for you?
Yeah, well, I think that's the same for us.
Or would it be underneath the moon?
I don't know. I'm seeing it through breaks in the clouds, so I really don't know. Like when I was looking at it tonight, the moon was covered. So that's right, it's on the bottom because the moon was passing by to the right, and the cloud was over to the right. So yeah, so the moon was passing over Mars from our
Wow.
our
Okay, I
perspective.
couldn't imagine what it would be like to see planets going under the moon. So I think I need to come and take a holiday down there ASAP.
Yes, you should.
Wow. Okay. Even if it's just to see Mars pass under the moon. So, what you seem to think that Mars is a mirror of the Earth, do you? What's that all about?
Well, that's from historically, when people looked at Mars, it's the only planet when you look through a telescope that you see polar caps, you see what they thought were seas, these dark areas and bright continents, they believed. And in time, of course, with Lowell seeing greenery on the planet and shrinking polar caps and then canals. I mean, Mars really was to them so Earth-like. And in ways, Mars is so Earth-like and so non-Earth-like that it in itself is fascinating to be able to follow. And I think also for a mirror of the Earth, for a while, for many years actually, I lived in Hawaii, and I was almost living on Mars. One of the analogs for the Martian landscapes is Mauna Loa in Hawaii, and also Mauna Kea, these two very large volcanic constructs, and they're very similar to Olympus Mons on Mars. So for a while, it's almost like being on Earth, but yet I can travel to Mars just by going up a mountain and being in this isolated landscape. Yeah, it's very.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I've got a butterfly issue here, so I'm trying to manage a butterfly that seems to have come back to life because we're going into deep midwinter now. So I guess you're going into what time of year? What season is it down there?
Oh no, it's hot. It's a rainy season.
Oh yes, you did just say that.
Very hot. Okay. Yeah.
So the canals then, they had us flummoxed for years, and they still look rather canal-like through certain telescopes. So what impact do you think they had on humanity then and our thinking?
Well, if it weren't for Lowell, really, Percival Lowell, now he just kind of misconstrued what Schiaparelli and Secchi before him believed were just these lines, which they called canali, and he took it a step further and believed that they were artificial constructs. And what I find most fascinating is that since Lowell, and for the longest time, amateur astronomers were able to see canals, even though they're just an optical phenomenon that we from Earth. People drew canals all the time, but suddenly, now that we've had spacecraft and we see that there aren't canals, suddenly canals have disappeared from our psyche, almost. It's very difficult to find drawings now that when someone will draw an actual canal. And in a way, I think people are missing out an important piece of history, because you're not a lunatic if you see canals, because it's just an optical illusion and phenomenon. And I spent, in fact, a large part of this recent apparition through the 3-inch telescope, studying Mars at powers from 300 to 400 power, looking for canals, just specifically trying to see if I could see canals. And it was very difficult, actually, to try to see them, because you can't force them to appear. And one of the most amazing things is people think that when you look through the telescope, that the canals are just etched on the planet, but even Lowell and the astronomers before him said that they're just fleeting glimpses. They're suddenly there, and they're so fleeting that you think it's your imagination.
Are they like an optical illusion then, that kind of like a magic eye photograph or something?
Yeah, well, you can even photograph canals, just because of various and sundry contrast effects. But but if it weren't for canals and if it weren't for Lowell, I think that the impact was great, because it ultimately led Carl Sagan, to really push for us to go to Mars, and to have the Viking spacecraft go there and to land and to take samples of soil to see if there's any life. I think everyone had great hopes that there'd be something there when they arrived, and it was a disappointment, like Carl Sagan. I'm going to misquote him, but saying, there's no polar bears, there's no other forms of life, but but now we're on a new crusade to try to find life, and maybe in a way we might not have to look very far. There's something that I really love, an idea, and that is that Mars is a smaller planet, half the size of Earth. So in the early solar system, it would have cooled, and we knew it had an atmosphere. We knew it had oceans. We know it had the elements for life to grow. And it's possible that early on, while Earth was still cooling down, that an asteroid could have hit Mars, and life could have been transported as sort of an extremophile in the rock, and then it could have landed on Earth while it was still forming. And so in a way, it's possible that life on Earth could have come from Mars.
I think it's exceedingly plausible, deliciously plausible, isn't it?
I like the idea.
Yeah, I love it. That's great stuff.
In a way, that all our desire, that we have this inbred desire and this passion to study the red planet more than any other planet in the solar system, and yet we're going back, and maybe we're going back home. Maybe it's in our blood.
That sounded like the start of a film or something then. I think you've got a lovely filmic voice there.
Perhaps.
So Mars has really been putting on a wonderful show above or below the moon, depending on where you are on the planet.
Yes.
So what have you been studying with this amazing apparition?
Yeah, recently it really what's been fascinating is the occurrence of the dust storms. And I have to tell you that it's really amazing what amateur astronomers are doing today. Not so much me. I like to look at the red planet because I love to look at it. I pass in drawings and so on, but there are so many amateur astronomers that are doing fantastic CCD work. And in fact, England has one of the best astro imagers, Damien Peach.
Oh yes,
his images look like they're equal to or better than Hubble. And there are also so many other amateurs. Like I've been really following Paul Abel. Now I think he's in Leicester, in the UK, and in his drawings, he's doing them in color. It's really capturing a forgotten art, and I just really appreciate the time and effort that goes into the renderings that he's making. It just makes me happy to see that the old ways are still living side by side with the new ways. And there's no right or wrong. It's just so much someone can do by using their telescopes and to be able to contribute to science. Now, speaking of contributing to science, I mean, the amateur astronomers and the images that they've been getting of the dust storms, it's just phenomenal. You can see little crisp wrinkles in the dust in the atmosphere as it's progressing. I mean, when I looked at my 3-inch telescope, I see a little blurry yellow haze covering some markings. But when you see what the astro imagers are doing, it's just the detail that is mind blowing. Yeah, and
Wow.
people in England are doing that. It's amazing.
Oh, you've made me quite passionate. I've got to say, Mars is. Am I allowed to say this? It dawned on me the other day, Stephen, and I'm so sorry for saying this. I'm going to offend a lot of people now, but I think Mars is my least favorite planet.
Oh, that's all right. It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult to observe. It's probably, and maybe that's why I like to observe it. I like a challenge. So
I think it's just because it's so brutal and has killed nearly everything we've sent to it, and just doesn't sound like my idea of a holiday destination. But
I'm not.
You might be convincing me otherwise now. You're romantic. The way in which you speak about Mars is making me almost quite tearful.
Oh no! It's to have Percival Lowell. Oh, what a man! He built his own observatory, sent it out to Arizona. Yes, he was a wealthy aristocrat, but anyway, he dedicated his life to studying this planet, and he came up with total fiction. The dying race of civilization, irrigation canals, and trying to figure out why the polar caps are shrinking while there's all this greenery coming down toward the equator, and then seeing the canals and saying, oh my God, this is a really intelligent race, and they're dying, and they need to irrigate their fields. And the romance, I mean, think of how many movies that there are that were born from his imaginings. So many sci-fi movies. And then, of course, it was H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, which when Orson Welles Theater in the Mercury Theater did a performance, a radio performance of that work. Now, you're aware that this is back in the days when there was no television. And so people tuned into the Orson Welles Mercury Theater broadcast. And if you didn't catch in the beginning that this was just a dramatization of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, there were people out in their fields with shotguns thinking that the Martians were landing. I mean, Mars was so real. It has such a rich history that I don't know. Even half the time.
I was just about to say, speaking of a rich history, you have contributed to the rich history of Mars yourself with your book.
Oh, thank you. I know. I don't know.
Have you got it there?
Like I said, I haven't even seen it yet.
Oh, it's a surprise.
I know, surprise. I know. I haven't seen a copy yet. I know it's out there.
So it's called Mars.
It's called Mars, yes. And Reaction Books. And
tell us a little more about what's inside it.
Yeah, well, it really is a sweeping history of Mars. So the way I wrote the book, it's for the layperson, the educated, and it deals from man's and humanity's first wonderings about the red planet, the mythologies, and it goes straight through the entire history, working up till Lowell and going into the space era, and right up to date to what it's going to take to colonize the planet. And Elon Musk's dream of getting the Orion spacecraft out there. So it's a sweeping survey of humanity's love for the planet, really. In some ways, a love-hate relationship. Like you yourself said, you don't like Mars, but
no, it's my least favorite. I love it loads, but it is my least favorite. It's my least favorite.
I know it is very difficult, but the book is written in a way that I hope people find it informative. I think you can sit down and read it in a sitting. It's just in simple language. I've tried to take and distill the knowledge so that it's as if we're having a conversation like we are now. And I'm just sharing with you all the different content.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's not, it's not something that you're going to need a PhD to read.
That sounds good.
And it's lots of illustrations. I try to get the latest illustrations and images.
We all like books with pictures, Stephen.
In color, I know. In color. Yes, it's black and white in color images. And
good
again,
word.
I wish I could describe it better to you because I haven't seen it. But
I'm sure it's going to be with your lovely verbal tone that you have. I'm sure if you write the same as you converse, it will be a beautiful book, Stephen. So thank you so much. And the connection held out from Botswana, from Anglesey, Botswana. That's a long way. That's a long way for us to be speaking like this. Technology, it's underrated just how amazing the internet is sometimes. So thank you, internet.
No, I know.
Thank you, Stephen. Good luck with the book launch. It's been a pleasure.
Same here.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye. Stephen James O'Meara talking to us live down the internet. What a miracle of modern communication that was. His book Mars is out from Reaction Books, but he's not even seen a copy himself. Right. Okay. So we were playing Consequences earlier. This is where I need your contribution, friends in the chat room. The man in the moon, Bernard, met Stella. Oh, okay. So the next bit is right. I'm going to take the third answer that pops up on my screen. Now, where did Bernard and Stella meet? Maybe they met in the sky. Maybe they met at a disco. Maybe they met around at Orion's barbecue. Where did they meet? So the third answer will go down in the story into the literary classic that this game of Consequences about a man in the moon is about to become. The Lowell Observatory, they didn't meet there. It was where Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto. One of the reasons the symbol for Pluto's PL is that they are Percival. For Pluto's. Yes, very good. Thank you for your questions and comments, everybody. So where did the man in the moon, Bernard, meet Stella? Let's take that. Olympus Mons, that's the first answer coming through. We've got two more. The story has taken a glitzy twist. They met at Blackpool Tower. So Bernard, the man in the moon, met Stella at Blackpool Tower. Somehow we've got to try and figure out a way to get them to the moon, but that's going to be coming next after our next guest, David, at a Ragdoll Cat Show. Someone's really into ragdolls here. No, Bernard met Stella at the Blackpool Tower. It sounds like a beautiful love romance written in the stars. And we are now going to go over to David Arditti, who I do believe has got images of Mars on his telescope. Hopefully it's not clouded over. Coming to you now. Hey.
Hello, Vicky.
Hi, you're right there.
Yes, unfortunately, it has clouded over.
That's what you get for gabbing, Duncalf.
That's what happens in this country. And so it is. Yeah, I can hardly see the moon now. I'm in my observatory warm room, and I can look out of the window. But even the moon is gone very faint now, and so Mars has disappeared completely. But I did see it last night as well, and it was looking good. It was I could see the Mare Erythraeum and the area of the dust storm, but the dust seems to have largely settled out now.
Because I've seen some of your images on my Facebook and they are looking crisp.
Thanks. Yes, I can show you what it. Let's see if I can show you what it looked like last night. Share screen. Share. I've never tried this bit of software before.
Paulina is saying, "Good evening, David. How are you? Long time no see."
Yes, I'm. Yeah, I haven't seen Paulina for a long time, but I know her through both the West of London Astronomical Society, which meets in Harrow, and the Baker Street Irregular Astronomers, who regularly observe from Regent's Park.
Right.
And they.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, so that's what Mars looked like last night. And the dark feature in the center is called the Solis Lacus. And it's got south, this image has got south at the top. So you've got the very tiny south polar cap at the top there, very shrunken because it is the south polar Martian summer at the moment. And there's a little bit of yellowish dust over the Mare Erythraeum, but mostly the dust seems to have settled out now, although I think it's sort of shining through the atmosphere on the left-hand side, giving that greenish colour.
What's causing the green again? Sorry.
I think it's probably the dust suspended in the atmosphere. Usually the dust looks yellow, and usually the clouds of Mars usually look bluish. So I can only surmise it's a combination of the bluish water clouds and dust, but I'm not sure. It may be that I've just processed the colours wrongly, and other people won't show it as green as that. But it certainly does look a bit of a different colour to how it usually looks.
He's looking a bit peaky.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's a false colour image. It's constructed from different filters, so there is a certain amount of artistic license in how it's put together.
It's looking good. We are getting feedback. I don't know where that's coming from, but it sounds like there's two of me. It might have just gone, actually. Just one of those temporary glitches. So, David, are you? How did you get started in astronomy then?
It was by getting a book out of my school library. I was 13 at the time, and I came across this little book by Patrick Moore. It was called something like The Schoolboy's Guide to Astronomy, and it had like a 1960s or 1950s looking schoolboy in long short trousers on the cover and short back and sides, and it had interesting instructions inside, such as how to make a telescope out of spectacle lenses. So I went down to the optician and I asked for 2 lenses, and I got the cardboard tube that comes in the middle of the Baco foil, and I made a mechanism of focusing it by sliding one cardboard tube into the other, and I stuck the lenses into the telescope with sticky tape, and then I made a little wooden mounting for it, and I pointed this telescope at the moon, and I could see the moon. It wasn't very big, it didn't magnify very much, because I hadn't realized, or the optician hadn't realized, that what I really needed was lenses of completely different focal lengths. The magnification of a telescope is the focal length of the object glass divided by the focal length of the eyepiece. So you need 2 and I think these lenses were almost the same focal length, so the magnification was actually very low. But nevertheless, that was my first telescope, and I started observing the moon then and other objects, and have never looked back, really.
One of our SPA members is asking what telescope you use, Tim. If you could reply to Tim, please.
I've got lots of telescopes. I've got a collection of them. But the biggest one is the 14-inch Celestron Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. That's in the observatory, and that's what I normally use to look at Mars and the other planets. And so I spend a lot of time looking at Jupiter and Mars and Venus particularly.
Oh, so this morning at about 6 a.m. I woke up and I checked out Venus through my little 80mm telescope, and I couldn't. I was trying to figure out what phase it was in because it was just more like a bright sequin. To my knowledge, it looked kind of like it was a gibbous pointing kind of down at us, from what I could work out.
Yeah, it would be gibbous because it's coming more in line with the other. It's in its orbit. It's going round to the other side of the sun. It passed through inferior conjunction, which is when it was between the Earth and the sun in I can't remember, about July, I think. And then it went to western elongation, so it was a morning star, but now it's going round to the other side of the sun. It's going round to the back side of the sun. So as David Graham reminds us, the correct word is gibbous. That's the phase of the planet or the moon when it's between 50 and 100% illuminated. So it's a gibbous Venus, and it's getting very small because it's going right away from us. It's getting towards the other side of its orbit.
So obviously, with your wonderful collection of telescopes, then, what is the most exciting thing you've ever seen through your telescope?
Well, I think that has to be the comet impact or asteroid impact on Jupiter, which occurred in 2009. And I looked through the 14-inch telescope one night in, I think it was July 2009, and I saw this strange dark spot near the North Pole of Jupiter. I think it was the North Pole. And you just don't get dark spots in that area. And it looked almost really black. It looked almost like the shadow of something on Jupiter. But I knew that there was not supposed to be any shadows on Jupiter. There was sometimes the shadows of the moons fall on Jupiter, but there was not supposed to be anything there at that time. It just wasn't predicted. And I'd never seen, in all my years of looking at Jupiter, I'd never seen a really dark splodge on Jupiter near the pole before. So I just didn't understand what that could be. So I took some images of it, and I just left it. And the next day, then I saw that there were emails about it and everybody was talking about it. It had been discovered by Anthony Wesley in Australia just about 12 hours earlier. And he's a very great planetary observer, and he had the perspicacity to realize that this is something really special. And he'd sent messages around the world, and then everybody was talking about it. And it was the impact of an object. We don't know quite what the object was, but either a large meteorite or a small comet into Jupiter. And it was a thing of great interest. They even got the Hubble Space Telescope onto it. It was the second time that impacts had been seen on Jupiter. Comet Shoemaker-Levy in 1994 was the first time, but this was the first time. This was the second time that kind of thing had ever been seen, and it was the first time it ever been discovered from the surface of the Earth, and it was discovered by an amateur astronomer, Anthony Wesley, and I was one of the first people to see it after he had seen it. But quite a few people in Europe saw it more or less the same time as I did. So I missed discovering that by 12 hours. But that was just such a strange thing. And so a very memorable occasion. And the scar on Jupiter remained visible for months after that. So it's always worth keeping an eye on the planet for unexpected occurrences.
That's so true. I know this is completely unrelated, but it's a tiny bit similar. I live in North Wales, and this morning there was a lot of banging and a big puff of cloud of apparent smoke coming out of the trees in Llanberis. And it turns out that quite a well-known quarry, which is a recreational quarry for diving and what have you, a part of that had fallen in, and there'd been a big landslip there. And that was like a kind of a big rare occurrence, I guess. So yeah, these things happen.
Yeah.
Large, unexpected, exciting wow events, cataclysmics.
Exactly. Yes.
We're getting requests here for you to play a tune on your piano, but I doubt you've got your grand piano in there.
No, I've got a small electric piano in here, actually. But
feel free to warm up your ivories or whatever it is piano players do. Now, you were you are aiming to be the first man to take a grand piano to Mars. Is that correct?
Yes, well, I was thinking what would be my luxury on this kind of desert island this kind of experiment. If you're asked, what would you like to? Obviously, you need things like water and food as well.
Yeah,
but
we've sent that. You've got that already. I've sorted out the water and the food. You can take what else you want now. One item. So what would it be?
After that, I think I would take my grand piano with me, and it'd be an interesting experiment to see how well it would work on Mars. Because obviously the gravity is a lot lower and there's not very much atmosphere, so it'd be impossible to play outdoors because you would have to wear a spacesuit and you'd have to have gloves that would pressurize, I guess, so that you didn't evaporate into the thin atmosphere. So it would be more than impossible to play, so you'd have to be in some kind of bubble at atmospheric pressure, I suppose.
What would it sound like then? You know those things that the Wild West pianos have with the card readers running through them?
Yeah,
it's got one of them in. It's playing automatically. What's it going to sound like? Is it just going to be quite quiet?
I think it would be quite quiet because of the low atmospheric pressure, but it should be at the same pitch as it is on the Earth, because the pitch just depends on the length of the string and the mass of the string, and it doesn't depend on the weight of the string. In physics of vibration, it depends on the mass, not the weight. So although the weight is much less, the mass is the same. So I guess the rate of vibration would be more or less the same. But I think a problem you would have would be the very low humidity, the very low water level in the Martian atmosphere would cause it to dry out, and they only stay in tune because they've got pegs in holes in pieces of wood that are stuck in there, and I think the wood would dry out and then the pegs would probably come loose. So you might have to make one specially out of specially resistant, special materials that resisted this drying out process.
We've got, because we're on the coast here, and we call it the haunted house. It's a big old house, monolithic building. It really is sensational. And it's right on a little headland jutting out into very stormy seas. And apparently the fixtures inside and in the hallways are made of rainforest woods because they react better to the humidity, and they're brass. The fixtures are brass as well, so they don't rust. So maybe there's something in it there. Use some rare rainforest wood.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
We're getting one step closer to you doing a concerto on Mars, David.
Yes, and it'd be much easier to move the piano around on the low gravity of Mars. I was wondering whether it would be actually portable, but it wouldn't, because Mars has about 1/3 the gravity of the Earth, so it's still going to weigh about 100 kilograms. So it's still going to require a couple of people at least.
I think there's a few defunct robot servants out there who will be more than willing to shepherd your piano around.
Yes.
This needs more thought. This needs more thought. I'm with you on it, though. We're going to make this happen.
But being on 3 legs, it would always stand up properly on any irregular Martian terrain. And that's the reason. That's the reason they have 3 legs. In case you ever wondered why do grand pianos have 3 legs, not 4, or some other number, it's so that you don't twist them, because twisting it would put it out of tune. But it's on 3 legs. You get no twisting force on any irregular floor that you might put it on.
I think, was there a comedian, it might have been Tony Hawk, he went round Ireland with a fridge. I think you need to go around the solar system with a piano and work out the logistics of a concert on each planet, on each moon, and compose a score for it, and that'd just be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be quite expensive though. I think we'll have to start a crowdfunding campaign.
Okay, well, we'll go to Mars first. Venus will be one hot concert.
It certainly would. Well, everything would melt there. So I think we might have to give Venus a wide berth, actually.
Asbestos pianos. They're all the rage on Venus.
Yeah, but I think cold places like Mars and Uranus, it should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, well, I look forward to seeing you play at 9 venues across the solar system, or maybe just 8. David, it's been an absolute pleasure. Have we got any images of Mars yet coming through?
No, I'm afraid it is still completely cloudy.
Well, we're going to cut across to Mell Jeffrey, who's our Occultation Director. If you want to just hang on in the green room for a couple of minutes, and if Mars does suddenly leer into view with his lovely portly red face with his high blood pressure, Mars is quite red-faced, isn't he? So if he decides to poke his head through the clouds, let us know.
Yes,
Drop me a message in the chat, and we'll shove you straight back onto the feed.
Okay.
Thank you, David. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye.
Great concert on Mars. Fantastic. Start selling tickets. Great. Okay, so we've got the man in the moon. He's called Bernard. He's going out with Stella, and they met at Blackpool Tower. Can you think of a better place for two moons to meet? Okay, so the next stage of this is, and I'm going to take the third answer. What did the man in the moon say to Stella, his new Bella, at Blackpool Tower? So I'll take the third answer. What did he say? What was his chat up line to Stella at Blackpool Tower? Come on, type away. Les Dawson had the piano with the extended legs. I don't think he said that to her. Yeah. What did the man in the moon, Bernard, say to Stella at Blackpool Tower? I'm going to turn my heater down while you come up with an answer. This is getting really hot. The butterfly has stopped flappering. I have turned out the light. Do you like ragdoll cats? That's what he said. What a great chat up line. Do you like ragdoll cats? There we go. We'll take it there. There you go. Somehow we've got to get... Right, what does she say after this? What does she say to him? Bernard met Stella at Blackpool Tower. His chat up line was, hello, do you like ragdoll cats? What's a chat up line for the man in the moon? Of course, the man in the moon is going to like cats, isn't he? Astronomers love cats. What did she say back to him? What was her reply? When that comes in, we're going to go over to Mel, who has been patiently waiting for so long in our green room here. Definitely no jokes about a stick of Blackpool rock. Thank you. Okay. We're going to bring Mel on, actually, while we wait for the answers to come in. Mel, are you ready? You've been waiting so patiently. 3, 2, 1.
Hi.
Hey. The last time I saw you was at the SPA thing in Cambridge.
The conference, yes.
That was
Yes,
good,
it was.
wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
And I saw you at the buffet counter or something, and I don't know whether I knew that you were spacey or not. And I said hello, and it turns out that we had so much in common, such as the SPA.
Yes, something like that, yeah.
So how are you, Mel? What have you been up to?
Just usual, busy, really.
So you are Occultations Director of the SPA. Have I got the magazine here? Let me have a look. Let me have a look. Let me show you Mel's section in the mag. No, it's probably going to take me 10. Do you know what page you're on, Mel? You're somewhere at the back, aren't you?
Somewhere in the back, yeah.
Let's have a look. Occultations. Just tell us what your occultation job is while I hunt down.
Well, I produce the data in the magazine so that people know what bright stars are being occulted by the moon, and I answer any queries that come in.
So what got you into occultations then? Because the way you described it to me in that lovely video we made, you said something quite about how it brings the sky to life in 3D.
Well, I sort of got interested in astronomy quite a few years ago now, and I joined my local astronomy society. And the chairman of the astronomy society was John Harper, who was then at that time the section director, as what is my job. And he's very knowledgeable, a very, very enthusiastic man. And he sort of fueled this interest in occultations. And the first occultation I observed was 69 Aquarii, and it was December 2002. And I just remember watching the moon and the star getting closer and closer together, and then ping, it just went out. And it was at that point that everything sort of, like when you're looking at the stars, before this happened to me, looking at the stars, the sky, and all the other bits and bobs that's out there, it was like looking at just like a sheet, a dark sheet or a blanket or whatever, with dots of light on it and patches of this and that and the odd planet. But this actually made it look 3D to me. You've got movement. It became 3D. because she saw something in the distance being occulted by something in the foreground, and it just sort of brought everything more to life for me.
So I found your page. This looks quite technical, actually. Is this one of your tables here?
Yes.
So I'll just put this full screen.
Yes.
No, because I'll lose you. Okay, so this is a sample from inside our 6 times a year popular astronomy magazine, diligently compiled by our wonderful volunteers. This is something you will not find in any other magazine, is this kind of information where you can get deep into your SPA hobby. So Mell's table of occultations here. This looks very diligent, Mell. Do you type all those out yourself?
Not quite, no. I use software. Somebody's giggling in the background here. No, I have several programs that I use to produce the data, and then it goes into Excel, and I fiddle about with it all, and then I produce a table.
So do you actually predict these yourself? Not predict, but do you compile these yourself?
Yes, I suppose. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sorry, there's a word there that I've never heard of, because I've got to admit, occultations aren't really something I know much about. What is it? Apsides?
Sorry?
Apsides? Apsides?
I'm not sure. Oh, no, they're not to do with the occultation.
Oh, I see. Yes, I see. They're not. Yeah. If someone would like to explain.
I wonder where you were pointing, and you have me confused, thinking, have I missed something there?
Okay, well, here you go. This is what I love about astronomy, is there are so many new things to learn all the time. And even some people who are the most, like my astronomy lecturer last night got questions wrong on our Zoom quiz, and that was great. So if someone could tell us what they are, apsides or apsides, there's something about the size of the moon. They appear to be apparent to do with the size of the moon. I would love an explanation of what they are. But yeah, you've got your notes here and you've got your table. So this is how much effort goes into this magazine, Mell. That's a hell of a lot of work.
Thank you.
That is a lot of work. Now, exciting things have been discovered by occultations.
Yes, they have.
Such as?
Which ones do you want to talk about? Do you want to
Let's talk about the rings of Uranus. That is exciting.
In March 1977, there was 3 astronomers. Well, I presume they would be classed as astronomers. I don't know what their proper full titles would be. We're aboard the Kuiper Airborne Observatory, which is NASA, and they were going up to observe an occultation of a star in Libra, which was, I'll just get the number for you, where have I put it? SAO 158687, because it doesn't have a name. And they were going up to watch the star and Uranus together to look into the atmosphere of Uranus, because she can gather information up. I'm not quite sure how they do that, but they do. What they actually saw was 5 disappearances and reappearances of this star before it actually got to the planet. You know, so before the planet actually met up with the star, like the moon does, you know, lunar occultations. And it turned out that they discovered it had got rings, and they discovered these 5 rings named Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, and Epsilon, I believe, unless they've changed the names. But yeah, so that they discovered this, and this is March 1997. 1977,
oh my gosh.
1977, not, yeah.
That's some fairly recent science, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez. And then there's a star, Antares.
Antares, yes, it's actually a double star, and unless I suppose you've got some very specialist equipment. The thing with lunar occultations is you sometimes get the opportunity to see double stars. A lot of double stars have been discovered through lunar occultations. So Antares is one of these, and I wrote this down actually because I can never remember these dates. But it was discovered that during an occultation of Antares, when the star was about to reappear, another star reappeared just prior to it that they hadn't seen before. And it's and Antares is the first magnitude star, and this other star which is red, and the other star, Antares B, which is still quite bright in itself. It's a 5.5 magnitude star, a greenish colour. Was just discovered. It was spotted just prior to Antares reappearing. We sometimes get the opportunity to see this event. It was last visible in the UK in the 80s and the 90s. And the next sort of groupings of occultations of this star are in, I've got this written down, 2023 to 2028. And in that 5-year period, there's only one that's visible from the UK, and that's on the 18th of October, 2023.
Oh, wow. So when was the last time you saw an occultation then, Mel?
Oh, the last one that I actually recorded was 2 years ago, and that was Aldebaran. And
what's that doing?
And there's a few pictures that I took of that one on Facebook. If you're on my Facebook page,
I am.
think
Yeah.
on the SPA. They've been in the SPA magazine as well, I think.
Have you got a good number of submitters for the SPA occultation page?
I do actually get a lot of reports coming in. I think a lot of the people that do a lot of serious occultation work tend to look into the asteroidal occultation side, which I don't tend to do. I have done the odd one, rather infamous one, but you don't have to have specialist equipment, but a lot of them use video cameras with time inserters and all this sort of thing, and I just don't have the ability to do that. So I just stick with lunar occultations. But people, if anybody sent me any information and there was something seriously like, oh, that's a bit interesting, I would send it on to the relevant bodies just to say that they could have a look and get in touch. So, but I don't get a lot of people coming back at me. There's a few people ask me for information on stuff, which I send out best I can. And I've had a few questions coming from people outside of the UK as well.
So, Mel, all this hard work that you do studying and tabulating occultations. So, how do people get started with it, and how do they send stuff to you?
How do you get started with it? Well, all you need is to have a look at the SPA magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got the list in there. They're the brighter stars. You've got to remember that the moon's always going through a field of stars. So there's always going to be stars that are going to be occulted, but they're the brighter ones that are at a reasonable altitude. Because I have a set of criteria I use for the SPA. So anything under a 10-degree altitude, we don't bother with, because you get the atmosphere interfering after that. So look at that, and I would say disappearances are probably the best ones to start with, because you'll see the star and the moon getting closer and closer together. And you don't need anything much. Just a basic telescope will be fine. As long as you can find that moon, you'll be fine.
There's a lovely line here, Mel, just before we close, and thank you so much. It so happens that 69 Aquarii was the first star I ever saw occulted in December 2002, which fueled a bit of a passion for this kind of observational astronomy. It was a wow moment when the star-laden skies became 3D, not 2D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Mel. So how long have you been a member of the SPA for?
Yeah, quite a while.
And what does it, why? Let's give a little plug, a wonderful plug to the SPA, because if you're watching this video and you're wondering who the SPA are and it's just popped up on your feed, or you are intrigued to learn more about what the Society for Popular Astronomy does, Mel, give us a little rundown.
A rundown of what? Sorry, what was that again?
The SPA and why it's worth joining us.
Because we're open to everybody. Anybody can come and join us, whether you're a absolute beginner, never done it before. We're there to help you. And to get in touch, you can just get in touch. There's obviously via Facebook, but there's emails, there's the website, and of course, if you become a member, you get the magazine, and all the information is there. You only have to ask if you're ever stuck, and people will answer your questions.
Yeah, because astronomy, but it's not really a learning curve. It's more of a learning vertical wall. And
yeah, because there's lots and lots to learn. I just do the occultations. That's my main thing. But there's like solar observing. There's the planets. There's the deep sky. And when you first start out, you want to look at a bit of everything. And at some point, you might want to think, well, actually, that's my thing. I'll do that.
We've got Mars. Let's just jump back to David. David.
Yes, I will try and show you Mars on the screen.
Excellent. I'm sorry to just cover you up there, Mel. Thank you. The SPA is wonderful if you are just starting out, or no matter where you are in your astronomy journey. We're going to be able to help you and bring so much more to your hobby. Right. Oh, we've got Mars live.
It's
Look
jumping
there.
around. jumping around a lot. It's in and out of cloud. But yeah, that's Mars through a 14-inch telescope.
Let's put that full screen. What do you think of that, Mel?
That's brilliant.
You can just about see some of the dark albedo markings. It's a very very wobbly image. Oh, it's gone.
Oh, that was so tantalizing. Oh, it's coming back.
Yeah, it's in and out. It's
Mel, thank you so much. And on behalf of everybody at the SPA, thank you for all the hard work that you do, compiling your very niche occultation tables, but a wonderful hobby and something really exciting to help bring the skies to life.
You're welcome.
Okay, David, thank you so much for that. David, in fact, Mel, I'll disappear you off. I'll leave David on just in case Mars comes back while I wrap up the show.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mel. See you soon. Well, hopefully see you soon. Bye. Okay, David. I'll let me know if it comes back. Just type in the private chat again.
Yeah, it's in and out all the time.
Ah.
Yeah, it's there now. Yeah.
Oh, come on, let's have it. Let's have it. Yeah. Well, I'll finish off my game of consequences and wrap up the show then with you just on the side there. 5 questions. What a fascinating night of talks. Thank you. Yes, it was. Here's Mars. Best of all, we've got a real live planet. Look at that.
Yeah, you might just about be able to see the South Polar Cap there at the top.
Let's have a look. Let's see if I can zoom in. Full screen layout. Ooh, that's a tricky ask to be able to see that South Pole.
I can only just see it.
What's that dark feature in the middle again, please, Steve? David, sorry. Wrong name.
That's called the Mare Erythraeum. And I can't remember what that means, what Erythraeum means, but it's a big dark area, and in the southern hemisphere of Mars. It's the biggest of the Martian so-called Maria.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to just leave that on while we wrap up, because it's exciting to have a real live planet on the show. So we have got, what did she say? I'm just finishing off this game of consequences. Can you show me your dark side? She said, Paul Sutherland, thank you. Can you show me your dark side? And then I'm going to read out the whole story and we're all going to fall about laughing. Okay, so the last little bit is... Oh, this is such a lame game. I will never play consequences again. This is lame. What was the consequence of that? So the story is Bernard met Stella at Blackpool Tower. He said, do you like ragdoll cats? She said, hey, baby, show me your dark side. And what is the consequence? And from that remarkable literary escapade, we'll have told the entire myth of the man in the moon. This has been quite an abysmal feature, and I won't be doing it again, but there you go. So, David, people are suggesting that you play us out. Do you know Play Us Out? I don't know that tune.
No, but I'll tell you what I'll do. Since I mentioned Patrick Moore earlier, I'll pretend this is the sky at night, and I'll give you that piece of Sibelius that it always ended with.
Okay, well, hang on. I'll let you set up and I'll just do me good nights. Thank you to everybody who's contributed tonight. Thank you for all the lovely comments in the... it means Red Sea. Okay, thank you, Helen. Thank you. I don't recognize your name and your little face there, Helen. So thank you for contributing this evening. Thank you, everybody. Love the live pictures of Mars. Yes, really good. And he took her to the moons of Pluto. What a place for a first date, Kath. That's brutal. She was occulted. Another great show. Thank you, everyone. Good night, everyone. We're going to get some nice music in a moment. Let me just finish wrapping up here. Diddly-dee, diddly-dee. So, yes, thank you, everybody who has contributed to the show this evening. Thank you to all the help that I've received from Paul and Robin this week. Thank you, guys, for keeping me going through this. Yes, and it's been wonderful. Are you ready to... Thank you, Pauline. I'll see you next week. Good night from me and Cosmo. Don't catch COVID. I'm David's partner. Oh, hi. Helen is sending you nice comments.
Yes, that's nice. Oh,
It's nice that she's watching. My boyfriend watches this as well. That's nice. Yeah, so we are in one of the lowest rate areas here on Anglesey, and the chap who works over at the office here and his partner, who I see nearly every day, has got COVID. And that's a real shock to us, actually, because we don't know anybody who's caught it on Anglesey. So it's around. Stay nice and clean and be hygienic and all the other stuff. And please take it away, David.
can you hear this?
Oh, yes, lovely. Round of applause. That was exquisite. Thank you very much, David. Take a bow.
Thank you very much, Victoria.
Beautiful. And see you all next week at 8 o'clock on Friday. Good night.